Hey Cloud, thanks for the email, I appreciate it. I agree with you. You guys probably are a few years out from having your infrastructure in line to move to a colo or infrastructure as a service. But I was at VMworld a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to share with you a roadmap on what it looks like for infrastructure in the industry in the next couple of years, where we're headed as a company, and what our baseline foundation is, and some recommendations on how you could get there in the future. So up here on the board, I have a few things drawn out here. It says physical over here. It moves to virtual, published apps, VDI, desktops, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and public cloud. So this is sort of the roadmap for infrastructure from now until 2015, 2016. A lot of companies are over here in this physical world. I would say that you're probably somewhere in the middle here, some physical, some virtual, 400 users in your environment, and it's a little bit difficult moving from here to infrastructure as a service or colo or public cloud, I would agree. 60% of the market right now is virtualized on the server infrastructure layer. So that's hypervisor layer. By 2015, VMware predicts it's going to be in the 90% realm over here. So this is where infrastructure is headed. It's not really a question of if you're going to go to a cloud, it's when you're going to go to a cloud. So as it stands, you go from physical to virtual and consolidated, and this is where you bring all of the hosts in, and you have some big powerful machines attached to a SAN like your NetApp 3040, but maybe a more powerful SAN, and you're consolidated. Then when you go to publish apps and VDI, whether that's through Citrix or VMware, that's where you really start getting all of the backups and redundancies and maybe that 7-year backup retention target that you have, and get that dialed down. At that point, you're probably going to be on vSphere on the server consolidation, and you're probably going to be on Citrix or View on the desktop consolidation. You'll basically have a private cloud built out, and you'll have on-prem infrastructure that's movable because you'll be standardized on this enterprise-grade VMware vSphere. At that point, you'll have these servers, these virtual servers that can move to a hybrid cloud scenario or a public cloud scenario. And what that looks like is you're in the middle of a hardware refresh when you get to this point. Maybe it's 3 years down the road, and you need to purchase aging equipment, or you have storage requirements that you don't want to invest in. So you say, I have Exchange or Oracle or large critical applications that take up a lot of RAM, and I want to push those to the cloud because I don't want to invest in capital expenditures. So you push those to the cloud, and you're on VMware vSphere and vCloud Director. That is the underlying application that allows you to manage a private cloud and a public cloud. So you have vCloud Director included for free in your vSphere licensing, which you already own. And you have Exchange or Oracle pushed out to a hybrid cloud or someone's public cloud. So you have your private on-site and your hybrid. Now, as you start decommissioning other servers over here, you can push them more to this hybrid, and then the balance shifts. You have 80% eventually in hybrid, 20% on-prem. Maybe you get to 90% and you're basically in a public cloud. So we take care of the security issues and concerns. We talk about the layers of infrastructure, and you're basically in a private cloud, or a public cloud rather, and you have very little infrastructure on site. Then it allows your 3 locations to not have any servers or hardware, and you remote in and go to the public cloud and access all your applications and documents and Exchange and all of that. So what we do as a company here, Zoomasys, we do private cloud builds and we do public cloud or infrastructure as a service. And our engineers feed off of each one of those builds. I'd say today 35% of our business is public cloud, 65% is still the on-prem. So there's a couple things here. If you're drawing out a plan, the physical to fully virtual, most of the time, is phase 1. So you have phase 1 and a project plan here. And Zoom Assist helps with this. This is our sweet spot. So for this kind of plan, we recommend, based on your infrastructure, what it would take to get to 100% virtual environment. We can go over the nuances of a big SQL server, a big Oracle workhorse, big Exchange, whatever the big data is. All of that can, for the most part, be virtualized now and put on high availability equipment. After that, you have a phase 2. How do we get to published desktops? How do we get to this private cloud? So we have a phased approach. Phase 2 is something we can help with. How do we get Citrix to work with these applications? We have peripherals in our warehouse, we have peripherals in our manufacturing, we're not sure if it can connect. Well, let's check it out. Then you have private cloud. At that point, you basically have a private cloud build. So maybe phase 3 is a little bit lighter, and you're just doing some upgrades to the firmware, but you already have most of the hardware purchased. The hybrid cloud is what we were talking about, where we're offloading some of these bigger servers, and you have project plan 4, and now you're in a hybrid cloud scenario. And then public cloud is basically when you shift all your capital expenditures for infrastructure that you plan on spending and pushing it over to public cloud. So instead of spending, I'm just going to give a rough estimate, you're at 400 users to get all the servers and the SAN and the storage and the high availability and business continuity. Maybe you're spending $1 million for phase 1. Phase 2, you need a lot more storage, some more horsepower, some endpoints need thin clients or whatever it may be. I mean, for 400 user environment, we're not seeing anything south of 1 million, but maybe up to $2 million here. If you think about that price per desktop, it's probably about in line if you want true business continuity. The private cloud is when you're all complete. This is doing some of the firmwares. Maybe it's just services or having really expert engineers in VMware or NetApp or Citrix and doing fine-tuning. So maybe it's a smaller dollar amount. Moving over to hybrid cloud, you don't want to purchase these servers again and incur any of these capital expenses. So you push them over to operating expenses. Maybe you move Exchange out for 400 users. You're at $2K a month or something like that. Oracle, you're at X dollars per month. So now you have an OpEx and you're not going to do CapEx on these new servers. Then when you get to public cloud, you're basically stopping all capital expenditures and you have your 400 users over here that are going to be paying monthly. So you'll have predictable costs, you'll know what your fixed cost is per employee, and maybe you're spending $50,000 a month for 400 users. Maybe it's down to $40,000 a month. Maybe if you have some SQL workhorses and some large Oracle databases that take up 32, 64, 128 gigs of RAM, maybe you're in the $60,000 or $70,000 range. So that's a quick synopsis. I just wanted to share with you what I learned at VMworld, and hopefully this helps out. If we can help at all, and maybe have some discussion around infrastructure on this phase 1 or phase 2 approach, I would really be interested in sitting down again, meeting with some of our engineers, and putting something on paper and showing you what it looks like from our perspective. Thanks a lot.